Okay, happy Tuesday, and hope you had a good day today. The debate, I believe, is about to start, so many of you will be watching the debate and listening to us. Hopefully, I wouldn't watch it anyhow. The most important thing is here that a lot of people listening understand that their lives are no longer their own. They are surveilled all the time. A little fun thing happened today, and this isn't the first time. I have an iPad Pro, and I assume all screen devices do the same kind of thing. It sits on my desk, and I use it to connect to the network back in Pennsylvania and do the program from the studios out here in the West. The iPad Pro is turned off. I turn it off when I'm not using it, which is 3 hours a night. So I'm talking on the phone today, and I noticed something moving out of the corner of my eye. And I looked over, and the iPad had turned itself on, and at the bottom of the screen there was like a little audio graph, a line. It was pretty. It was a colored line. And it was vibrating and moving and configuring with each word I said on the phone. It was listening. I don't know who it is, Siri or whatever. I don't know what those things are. But probably if I'd have asked the iPad a question, it would have answered. The damn thing turned itself on and was listening to everything I said, and obviously sending everything I said to somebody somewhere. They've got it all stored on their massive server farms, some of which are underground, some are above ground. You know the game. It's pretty crazy. So what we're faced with now is the end of the year, October, November, December, the fourth quarter. And it is going to be, without question, in my view, one of the most, if not easily the most difficult 3 months in the history of this nation. And I hope all of you have been listening long enough to have taken the opportunity, and days are running very short now, to prepare to be without. Without what, you say? Without virtually everything in many cases. You have to have food, you have to have shelter, you have to have water, or you're out, you're gone. Now, there's another aspect to that most people actually don't think about. I know people who have tremendous food supplies put away. They don't talk about it, but many of them are like 200 pounds of pancake mix, noodles, Italian dishes, spaghetti, all sorts of things. Well, that's wonderful. But I asked them, I know I've done this at least once, if not twice. I've asked the people, well, how are you going to cook it? And they said, well, on the stove. And I said, well, what makes you think you're going to have electricity or gas to run your stove? And they honestly hadn't thought about that. They're too busy worrying about other things. But think about it. Water, food, shelter. How are you going to cook your food? How are you even going to warm your food up, let alone cook anything or prepare it? And I've looked at enough emergency food supplies to know that a lot of it requires simple cooking, whether it's boiling in water, heating, it doesn't matter. You don't want to eat it cold out of the box. It's not going to be very nutritious or tasty. Now, that has spawned an industry of what is commonly called rocket stoves. They're little wood-fired stoves that you can use to heat things, water, pans, cook things. This is a big deal. I have had food storage for years, but I have never gone to the extent of buying a stove to prepare food on. And I'm rather embarrassed about it, to tell you the truth, because it's so rudimentary and so critically important that how did I overlook it? Well, for some strange reason, I got a tip, and I can't even remember who, or I saw something. Oh, I know what it was. I saw it on the margin somewhere on some website, and it said, the Watchman stove, an experience, not an appliance. And I was kind of curious, and I obviously assumed it was a rocket stove kind of a device, and that's just a very small wood-burning stove. There are, like I say, many of them. Some are obviously very inexpensively made, let's put it that way. Well, I happened to look at the Watchman stove. I pulled up the site, and I was dazzled. And it's not easy to do that to me. It was extraordinary. This is, and when you see the video, and go there right now if you can tear your eyes away from the debate, or debit, as I call it, thewatchmanstove.com. If nothing else, you'll be listening to the program later tonight or tomorrow or next week, next month. You'll hear this, thewatchmanstove.com. It's extraordinary. And I called the company, and I wanted to talk to the owner if I could, because I really like intelligent products. This product is not just intelligent, it is brilliant. It is, without question, the premier rocket stove, I think, anywhere. I can't imagine a better one. So I got to talk to Ben Phelps at the company, and I was so impressed with his business ethics, the idea that this was so well engineered. I invited him to be on the program tonight, and he said, sure. So, Ben, are you there? Are you standing by?
I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. We really want to. I just want to start at the beginning, and I mentioned the idea of rocket stoves. I don't know how many there are on the market. Give me an overview of rocket stoves and what they are. Just explain to people in your words, you're the professional, what a rocket stove is, what it's supposed to do.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us, and I say us on behalf of everybody at the Watchman Stove. I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of people that make this product and make it happen. So thank you for having us.
You bet.
It's an honor to be on your show. As you said, the rocket stove, there are a lot of them out there. It's sort of an age-old concept, and at the very basic level, it's a matter of how the air flows into the stove. It's a gravity-fed concept of wood being able to feed itself with gravity as it burns, and then in the guts of the stove, as I like to call it, you get a very intense and efficient fire with very little fuel required to make a good fire, enough to cook a meal. As I'm sure you have, if you Google the rocket stove concept, you'll see them made out of anything from stones to cinder blocks. Again, just recreating that concept. The physics of it can be done with just about anything, and so our particular version, is made of some pretty heavy gauge metals. As you can see by the pictures that you've seen on our website and so forth. But there are a variety of ways to create that concept. It doesn't have to be from steel. It can be from a lot of different materials to make it. It's really more about the airflow and the way you create the flow and the draft to get a good hot fire, and the heat rising up, which allows you to have a good surface to cook on.
Oh yeah, that watching it is amazing because you get it right away. It's so simple. It's an updraft and it's a gravity fed. You put the wood in there and it gravity pulls it down. It's on about a 45 or 50 degree angle. So you've got it made. And the amount of heat that is generated in there, how hot does that updraft firebox get under the grill?
Well, so down in the bottom of it, where the real fire is happening, I mean, it's kind of off the charts. A few months ago, I had a interested customer reach out to us and ask, just how specifically hot it can get on the top of the grill, because he's a very passionate griller, and he likes to be able to sear a steak at near 1,000 degrees, and so I wanted to test it because we hadn't really done that, and so I did do some testing with wood and charcoal combined to just to get it as hot as I thought we could, and we did achieve 1,000 degrees or more. Just sort of testing it with an infrared gun that you can kind of shoot on the surface.
Yeah.
So it can get as hot as you really want it to. I think for any sort of cooking situation, I would say the more challenging part with a rocket stove is keeping it cool if you want to keep it cool, if that makes sense. Because it will get intense very quickly, and it gets up the heat very quickly as well.
Yeah, you don't have to wait 20 minutes. I mean, this thing is
you do not.
It's up and running.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, it gets hot fast and ready to cook fast, which is another nice benefit. Depending on the situation, I mostly, obviously, hopefully most people are right now using them in a more leisurely fashion for fun and recreation, but in a more of an emergency situation, you can definitely get it to legitimate cooking and or boiling temperatures in a very short period of time.
When you go camping, friends, I don't know what you do for food. Many people, they build a campfire, and I don't know what are the logistics in terms of cooking over a campfire, but you'd have to have something to put a pot on or a pan on, and this stove, the Watchman stove, and I should tell all of you out there that no, I didn't have somebody call me and offer me a free stove to do this program. I'm only doing this because I love superior ingenuity and design work. And this is when you see the video, you'll understand. You could take this easily in the back of your pickup, say you're going camping for 4 or 5 days, and you have, almost all the comforts of home right there with the stove. It's there. And when you're done cooking on it, you can use it to keep warm, I would assume. It'll probably stay warm for hours.
Yeah, we like to we call it bonfire mode. The way we have the cooktop situated, it's hinged so you can flip it back, and then you can feed wood from the top, and you can create a bonfire, whether it's for s'mores for the kids or just to generate some ambient heat, similar to a bonfire. But the other part is that it's a little more contained and more safe, if you will, in an open environment. It's versatile, and we've also got some attachments that we've created. One of my personal favorites, and I think one that has been one of the favorites of a lot of our customers, is a flat top griddle that you can set on top. So it's great for a nice big breakfast with bacon and eggs and things like that. So we've kind of tried to. I think that's what sets us apart a bit as well, is that we've gone just beyond just the flagship product itself and added some accessories that make it just a little more fun and versatile, and give you more options for different types of folks.
I want to talk about those in a few minutes. The stove itself, though, is, you mentioned, made out of superior materials. What's it made of? And I happened to look at a video by mistake showing it before it was actually welded together. It was kind of a do-it-yourself video. And I said, my God, I can't do that. And that's another reason I called the factory. I asked the young woman who answered the phone, I said, do these stoves only come in pieces? And she said, what do you mean? I said, I just saw a video, and it's all in parts, showing you how to weld it. No, they're all together. And that's when I got connected with Ben here on the phone. We're talking with Ben Phelps at the Watchman Stove. Now, this stove it looks like space-age steel is what it looks like. What's it made of?
Well, I would be lying if I said it was space-age steel, but I think the stove itself I think once it's put together, it just sort of becomes a conversation piece because it's so unique looking. But the components that make it up are everyday types of steel. But I think what makes it pretty special is that it's so robust. It's heavier gauges. We use some pretty sophisticated equipment to make some of those parts, and then we have some very talented welders and fabricators who put them together. So it's made with a lot of quality materials, a lot of pride, a lot of by quality, talented individuals as well.
Yeah.
So it is definitely it's built to last. But the stove itself, the stove body, which I call the chimney tube that goes upward, and the feed tube where you would feed your wood, is 6-inch square tubing, 3/16 thick, so it's nice and stout. Right. The component that we refer to as the potato plate, which is the large plate that kind of goes around the stove, is 1/4-inch thick steel. We cut that on a laser, and then
what's that used for? Ben, excuse me, what is the potato plate used for? Just to bake a potato, so to speak?
So the potato plate, which was just sort of the nickname it was given, it can cook potatoes, but it can also just, if you are doing something where you want to cook something up top and then you want to just keep it warm, you can set it down there just to let it stay warm for a while until the rest of your meal is ready, things of that nature. But it does get warm enough to sort of be treated like an oven, other than it's a little bit more open air, if you will. It's not closed in, so.
Well, but it does
stay pretty warm if there's a good fire going.
Yeah, just looking at it is very interesting. You mentioned you have fabricators and welders, and I don't know if they're listening or not, but I want to tell you I have restored a few old cars. I'm not a welder, but I've had welding done, and I have never seen better quality welding than I'm seeing in this commercial. The seams, everything is perfect. It doesn't look like it was done by human hands. It's that good. It's perfect.
Yeah, and honestly, a couple of the people that are responsible for making these stoves are they take so much pride in what they do, and not just with the Watchman stove and all the other things that our company does. So it does lend well to us being able to put a good product out there and stand behind it, because I know that the people that are doing this are taking great pride in it. So yeah, it does feel good to be able to put this product out there and feel like we know that we're providing a quality product to the folks that are paying good money to get it.
The stove will outlast all of us, friends. If you're not looking at it by now, you could take a look. The Watchman stove. Okay, so when we're cooking on the top, how do we gauge and control the amount of fire and heat, flame, so to speak? There's a draft control. Explain how that works.
Well, that's a great point, and that's something that a lot of our customers or potential customers have brought up, and I think it's something that we're still sort of working on, because right now, the way it works really is it's almost just intuitive in terms of how you would control your fire. So if you use smaller splits of wood, smaller sticks, or smaller sections, and they tend to burn faster but burn hotter. And so it's really more of a matter of just sort of fire management.
It's how you load it. Okay, got it.
Right, and then if you take a larger chunk of wood and put it in there, maybe only one or two larger chunks, they're going to burn a little bit slower, and subsequently your fire will be not quite as hot and intense. We have had a lot of people sort of clamoring for a cover plate out on the front of the feed tube to where you would have like a damper to even control your airflow more, which we are actively working on. It's just we have a lot of different accessories and things like that we're working on that we just haven't gotten to final production, but it can be more sophisticated. But at the same time,
I don't think at this point, Ben, it's all there. You get there with a damper fine, but I think it's perfect right now.
Yeah, I think part of the fun of it is that it is sort of primitive in a way, and that you kind of get used to it and get comfortable with it. And honestly, every cook is a little bit different.
Good point.
It can be as much as the weather, the wind, the way the wind is blowing, and as to how you have your stove situated. All these different things kind of come into play, but I think that's part of the fun of it, and why we sort of like to talk about it as a more of an experience each time, as just let's push a button and turn the grill on and then walk away.
Well said. Very nice. Hold on a minute, Ben. We have to take a little break. We'll come right back with Ben Phelps, the Watchman Stove. This is special. All right, welcome back. And if you haven't gotten there yet, do drop by the watchmanstove.com and take a look. I think the first time you see the stove, many of you will want one, especially if you like the outdoors at all. It only weighs about 75 pounds. You can put it right in the back of the truck and go. Ben, any stories about people taking these camping that are your favorites or you've heard about? Any unusual events?
Man, I had to think about that for a minute.
Do people, let me ask you this.
A lot of people have said that that's one of the specific reasons they're purchasing one is for, a hunt camp or something like that. I just got an order today from a gentleman in Louisiana who's going to buy a couple and then take them to a campsite, and then he also wants to start buying them and giving them out as gifts to his customers, which is kind of cool to think about as well.
Oh yeah.
But we just had a lot of really. I guess probably one of my favorites right now would be there's a gentleman in South Carolina who is involved with a youth group that they do a lot of taking kids out hunting and fishing. It's kind of church affiliated, and they bought a couple to take and teach the boys how to grill out and do campfires and stuff like that. So those kind of things I think are just a little more meaningful too, in terms of the people that we're reaching, and understanding that it can be a cool thing for people in all different sort of a lot of different ways, if you will.
Another thing, we have gotten, not all of us, but many of us, especially those who live in urban areas, cities, they never even go out in the country. They don't.
Right.
They don't. They're not connected to the basics of survival and life, and that's cooking your own food, making a fire, eating. And for people like that who are stuck in the city, have some fun. You get one of these. You don't have to take it out in the woods. Take it in the backyard, or whatever. You've got certainly parks in the area that would allow campfires and cooking out. This is a remarkable thing when you understand that most food is heated or prepared or cooked, and all the food storage out there. There was only one company, Ben, that I ever saw that even mentioned getting a stove to actually warm up their food. And that was just one small company. The others never even mention it. And I would suggest to anyone who's got food storage, consider this, because you don't want to eat cold food. And good luck on a campfire boiling noodles. I don't know. It's certainly doable. But it would be a much easier and more fun thing to do with this. There's something about human beings and fire and controlling it and making it work for you that is, I guess you'd call it primordial. It goes all the way back. And this is such a special tool for that. Now let's look at some of the other items, the accessories that you mentioned earlier that you've got for the Watchman stove now. And for those of you on the site, just scroll down the page and you'll see. There's a bundle. You've got a bundle offered on the top left, and a griddle, then the charcoal grate, and then there's that do-it-yourself kit. That scared me, but I'm just that kind. Fire rings.
The do-it-yourself kit, and I would like to talk about that for a moment, just because.
Please.
Yeah, the gentleman who brought us the Watchman stove design, he's a creative, talented individual who loves to weld. He loves to create things with metal. He's done sculptures. He's an artist. And he created the Watchman stove. And one of the things that we discussed early on when we talked about trying to help him grow this product and turn it into something bigger was, could we offer it as a kit where people who just are hobbyist welders or want to learn to weld could get all the parts and instructions and then build their own. And so that's something we've done, and we've actually sold quite a few of those as well. There's a lot of people out there who love the idea of building it themselves, with a little bit of help from us to where
Understood.
we provide all the parts. Some of the components are cut on CNC lasers and plasma tables and things like that, but the consumer can sort of do the rest, and then they have their stove, they built it, and then they get to do with it what they want. But while we're on that topic, one of the things that's happened more recently that we're extremely proud of is I was recently contacted by a gentleman from a welding school who wants to purchase a significant amount of the do-it-yourself kits, and each of their students will build one as a project, for their semester project to build one of these Watchman stoves. And those are the kind of things that, again, it transcend a little bit of what we're trying to do as a business, but you sort of reach a different community than just the grilling folks and the prepper folks and things like that. We're talking about now reaching out to people who just are learning how to weld and have a unique and interesting project to work on at the same time.
Oh yeah.
So we're proud of that. But to the other accessories, and I got ahead of you earlier on that topic, so I apologize. But the griddle attachment is one that I think is probably my personal favorite. It's just great for a large breakfast, fajitas, things of that nature. The charcoal insert is again a very simple item, but it does allow you to use charcoal in a very efficient way if you don't have access to a lot of wood. It simply just sits right in the top of the funnel there, if you will, and it doesn't take much to cook a meal. It doesn't take a whole lot of charcoal to cook a meal when it's that close to the surface. That's also very effective. And then we have the hitch attachment, which would allow you to...
Hold on one second. It's all right. I want to go back to the griddle. I don't eat... I happen to be a vegan. I do a lot of vegetables. Now, that griddle... and you showed a few in the beginning of the video of some vegetables, but you could do all kinds of things on that griddle with vegetables.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Just the sky's the limit. So you don't have to think steak and hot dogs and hamburgers. If you're a vegan, you got it knocked right there with that griddle. You can do anything. It's a great device. And it just sits right on top of the stove by itself, correct? Just put it up there.
Correct. Yeah, you simply flip the cooktop back, and the griddle, we've made it such that it sort of locks itself in place, so it's not going to go anywhere. You couldn't walk by and bump it and knock it off. But then we've also done that so that there's a bit of a draft underneath, so we don't stifle all the airflow, which is obviously critical to its function. It works amazingly well. It gets as hot as you would want it to get. I've burned bacon on mine because it gets hot, and so you can as to how you want to use it. But yeah, it's very versatile, and like you said, you can do a great. There's nothing better on that thing than doing some peppers and onions. And if you want to add some meat in, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But yeah, sure. It's definitely a great accessory. It's by far our most popular accessory that we sell.
You have also a trailer hitch device here.
Right. Correct.
Explain how that works.
So yeah, that was just something that we decided to add in. I mean, yeah, you can throw it in the back of a truck, but if you're, perhaps going on a trip or something, or going camping, and you've got a lot of stuff, cargo in the back of your vehicle, whether it's a SUV or a pickup truck, the hitch attachment allows you to haul the stove, down the road without being in your vehicle. Once you've used this stove a handful of times, it does get dirty, so there's a mess to deal with as well. So the way we've set this up is that with the hitch attachment, you can just, when you're done packing up, the last thing you throw on is your stove. You lock it in place, and then you drive down the road, and then you get a lot of interesting stares as you're going down the highway too.
I would think. What is that in the back of their truck? What is that? Okay, fire rings. What's the fire ring for? Okay,
so that's totally unrelated to the Watchman stove. That's just a that's a sort of another thing that our company does, but it's not related to the Watchman stove. It's just a sort of a backyard,
just to make a fire
pit sort of item.
Yeah, they're selling those now more and more, and I see them for backyard use. That's nice. Nice.
Well, and this year has been an interesting year, and so with the pandemic and whatever else going on, there has been an uptick in products and sales of products of this nature, backyard products, patio products, so to speak. We've seen a big uptick in interest in fire rings and Watchman stoves. So I think there has been a shift in, probably, I guess, by necessity, people wanting to just spend more time outside, set up an outdoor space that they want to hang out at with their family and so forth. So it has been interesting to see that, that business increase because of all this, madness that's going on right now.
No cell phones allowed. Let's talk.
Right.
It's actually talk. How many times have we been in restaurants, and back when we had restaurants and they were open, but people would sit and they'd never even talk to each other. It's just weird.
Right.
It's totally weird. Okay, the cart. Now that looks like a pretty neat thing. If you've got a patio or a flat area especially, well, almost any area, it'll still roll over. That's a nice thing.
Yes. Yeah. I always tell folks, if I speak to a potential customer about it, if you don't think you're going to move the stove a lot, physically lift it and move it, and you have a space where it can roll around nicely, I do recommend the cart, because it does a couple things. It makes it very easy to maneuver, obviously, but it also elevates it a bit. You get about 6 more inches of height on the stove.
There you go. Yeah.
Which is, in a more backyard environment, maybe just a little more ergonomically convenient as far as a grilling experience. And then it just it protects your patio or whatever you might have it sitting on as well from ashes and mess or whatever. But that's been a good accessory as well, and it's quite simple. It's just a sheet metal pan that's bent up on all 4 sides with some rolling casters on it, and we get everything powder coated to a nice finish. And
well, see, now that's a big plus right there for all of you who know what powder coating is. That's nice. That's very nice. You've really thought this through.
It makes a nice finish.
Oh yeah, everything is there. Everything's got its purpose, and it all fits together perfectly. What is a hot dog bumper?
Okay, well, I'm glad you brought that up. So the hot dog bumper, so we've we've made a few iterations of certain parts of the Watchman stove. So when the version that we sold for quite a while had just a flat. The grill top was just flat, and so we made the hot dog bumper to prevent if you were putting hot dogs or something on there from rolling away if you're not on a perfectly flat surface. Now, since then, we have changed the standard cooktop that comes with the stove, so it actually is bent up on all four sides. And if you look on our website, you'll see the new and improved cooktop, which now is standard with every stove. So only folks that have the stove with the flat cooktop would benefit from the hot dog bumper. So at some point, that will render itself obsolete, if that makes sense.
Sure. Understood. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Enlarged cooktop. This is if you got 5 kids, I guess, and grandma and grandpa around.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just sort of, it's the same footprint as the griddle, and we just decided to do the same thing with a grill, with the slots, with the grill surface. Just gives you a little more space if you want to grill some things, and then you can push them off to the side and add some more. Yeah, as you said, if you have a few more folks you're feeding, we just thought it was a kind of an easy and nice thing to offer, as opposed to just the standard grill top that comes with the stove, which is only about 14 inches square. And so there has been some people that, there's always critics out there, and they think that's just too small of a surface. So
sure. Everything you've done here by way of accessories is a perfect addition to the stove. It all fits together. The new and improved cooktop. Now that's included with all new stove purchases, I guess.
Right.
Is that stainless? What am I looking at?
Yeah, that's stainless steel, and that's what I was saying. That's the one that we more recently changed, so that now the hot dog bumper would be irrelevant, because the way we designed that new cooktop would prevent roll-offs of hot dogs and brats and things of that nature. If you're not on a perfectly flat surface and someone wants to start rolling away, if you will.
So does that stainless steel cooktop sit on top of the stove, so to speak, or is that the top of the stove now?
Well, it sits on the top, but you can flip that back, and then you would add, if you wanted to throw on your griddle, if I'm understanding your question correctly, it sits on top, but it is removable as well. But it will flip back, and then you could add your griddle. You could throw your griddle top on,
sure,
by simply pulling back the standard stainless cooktop.
Got it. Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does. Now, you got a poker. I really like the way you worked your logo into things too. The W. It's nice. You've got it in the charcoal grade. It's there. The poker. You get in there and you just roust the wood, I guess, and add a little bit more. That's what that's for.
Yeah, exactly. And we've actually, literally today, one of our really talented guys at work sort of came up with a different idea for that. So that actually might be changing too. But in the same vein, I mean, it's just something that we wanted to offer that, anybody could come up with a poker probably, and it could be as simple as a stick of wood if you wanted to just jab around in there. But we like to offer things that have our logo and are part of our offering. But yeah, it's a very rudimentary product in terms of just its function. But yeah, you definitely want to. You always want to be able to kind of stoke your fire and move things around in there a little bit while you're cooking.
Sure.
Or just hanging out.
Hanging out. Grill torch. Now that's something that I would see be very popular with people. Stick that down in there and ignite your fire. For sure.
Right, and there's different varieties of those too. That's just a specific one that we don't make that. We partner with a company that sells those, so we're a distributor for them. It's just a perfect. Actually, the size of that specific grill torch fits perfectly with our stove. You can light that torch and then set it down in the feed tube. Light your kindling, which is how we recommend you start your Watchman stove, is with just some sticks, get it going, and then start adding your larger pieces. That grill torch is it's like the perfect size. It just sits right down in there. You can kind of let go of it, let it burn for a minute or two, and then you've got a fire going in no time. So it's a good product.
Yeah, it's a wonderful product. Each one of these, for all of you out there, all the accessories, just click on the actual picture and they'll become larger. And then you came up with that. Now, this is nice if you're going to leave it outside. Most people probably wouldn't want to take it into the living room with them, so you want to leave the stove outside. All right, this one's on a cart, and you got a very smart, nice-looking cover for it. That's easy. That's nice.
Yeah, and it's a nice, thick, heavy cover. I love the way our logo looks on there too, and we offer that as part of our bundle. The stove doesn't necessarily need to be covered all the time, but there are folks who. Everybody takes care of their stuff in different ways. There's the folks who are very particular and scrub everything and clean everything and cover everything, and then there are folks who don't. But the cover, definitely will protect it. It's a nice sturdy cover, and it's got some breathable vents on each side, and it kind of is custom made to fit the stove. So yeah, it's a nice accessory as well.
The whole stove powder coated, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, that's so important. I don't know how many of the others in the market are, but that means a lot when you get something powder coated. For those of you who don't know, believe me, it's what you want. How many years have you been making the Watchman now? How long has it taken for you to grow this?
We basically just passed our 4-year anniversary, Jeff. And obviously, it started out very humbly, and it's just been a very much a grassroots campaign all this time. But we've shipped them all over the United States. I've sent a couple out of the country. It's been a really cool experience because we've been in contact with a lot of interesting people, and yeah, for sure. And it's been an awesome experience. Just the feedback we've gotten from folks on the product has been very positive. And so yeah, it's been fun and interesting to be doing this for the last 4 years.
I can hear it in your voice. And I'll bet you have, as you mentioned, you have a wonderful crew there of people who share the same views and the same philosophy. This is really it's one of the most fascinating products I've seen in a long time. Last question. The grill torch. As I look at the feed tube for the wood, there is underneath the wood a smaller opening. Is that where you'd put the grill torch, or would you put the grill torch in with the actual wood and kindling?
No, you put the grill torch in with the wood. The opening you're speaking of, that's the airflow. So
got it.
That is so that shelf separates your wood from the airflow. So in other words, instead of just having it open, it's allowing air to flow cleanly down through to the fire without being impeded by the wood. So that's the purpose of that shelf.
Very smart.
Does that make sense?
Also got, you've got adjustable legs on it. Which is nice, and they've got heavy-duty, some kind of plastic or vinyl caps on the bottom of them. Of the tubes.
We put just it's a plastic plug in there, just so you don't get all gummed up with mud and whatever. But yeah, you can adjust on, you know, odd surfaces, uneven surfaces to kind of try to keep it level.